All right, so here's what's happening. Producer Ruf here again. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for listening to us this season 1. It was all about pursuit and all about putting things ahead and just going for it this first season. Next season, we have some amazing things coming up. With that being said, I just want to say we're going to do something different this episode. We're going to take some of the best parts of the episodes that we've had in season 1, as well as some parts that we cut off some of these episodes that you have not heard before. So these are just extended conversations that you will hear from all of our guests this first season. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. And thank you once again for being a part of More in Common. It means the world to us, and we can't wait to show you what else we have in store for you this year. It's just keep being a good human. I'll leave it at that.
Glamorous, a two-sided coin of being very unglamorous and being very glamorous. So, for example, Fashion Week's coming up here next week. And our team has an event in a couple of days for Teen Vogue, where Miss Anna Wintour is showing up. And to me, again, like, that's such a moment of, like, my little Erica self is like, holy shit, like, it's a Vogue party and Anna Wintour is going to be there. But the unglamorous part of that is, like, I'll also be, like, eating takeout Chinese in the back on cardboard boxes probably at some point.
Yeah.
That, it's like, I'm not, like, standing next to Anna, but I'll see her with my eyes. But it's super special. And again, something that I'm very cognizant of always is there are a lot of really dream venues that we get to work at a regular basis that I know so intimately and have been, like, deep in the hallways of, right? So something like the New York Public Library or, a Cipriani's kind of space. It's so, like, sparkly and spectacular and, like, storied. And even if you've never set foot in New York City, like, what that space is somehow, we're like the Waldorf before that wasn't a thing, but just seeing that and, like, Coming to America, like, having been, like, I had, like, a personnel only key to that space, and I could let myself into any hallway or room that I wanted to. It's such a weird, special thing to be able to do.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, so it sounds like they're different worlds, but, like, aesthetic and design, like, it's still a part of it, like, in a sense, in a way.
Definitely.
So Keith's question, kind of, though, like, did you intend to run your own business, or did you dream of running your own business, or where did that come about for you?
I didn't, in my young adulthood, graduating college, I didn't really expect to run my own business per se, and definitely not as early in life as I did. I mean, we started the business, I was probably 28 years old. But also, again, going back to being a classic overachiever and being someone that was always, like, student council and the class president and blah, 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 like, being someone in a leadership position, it also didn't surprise me that that's where this path led me. And the same thing, meeting my two business partners that are very much the same kind of humans, that are just extraordinarily, awesomely hard workers and people that know how to get things done. I don't think it came to a shock to any of us that happened. The other fun little anecdote there is that we're all the oldest sister of two girls. So with all self-awareness and love, we also know that have been groomed to be bossy women.
Yeah, I got a 2.5-year-old, that one of two, who is being groomed herself very, very, very successsucally to be the bossiest person in my household.
I love
used the word bossy
girls.
there.
Bossy girls get things done.
It's so, having a daughter and getting ready to have another one, and even before having my daughter, I started to recognize this. Using the word bossy, it only happens to women. It does not happen to men.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
if it's a man in the same scenario, he's a good leader.
Yeah,
he's a strong leader.
Confident.
He's
very assertive.
Confident.
Assertive,
He knows what he's looking for.
Knows what he wants. Yeah.
But a woman's bossy. Like, we couch it. Like,
I know.
Because and it's weird. I was talking to I had a lunch with a coworker the other day, and I was like, man, it's very much like, for me, in my experience being a black man in corporate America, where I got to show up with a bit extra just to be seen as as Keith, for instance, as my white counterparts, like just to be seen as equal. I can only imagine what it's like being a woman, like especially an executive or an owner, where you've got to show up with extra.
Yeah.
Like, and then for somebody to turn around and call you bossy or bitchy, or it's like, wait a second, if a guy does that exact same thing, it's lauded.
Yeah. Yeah, not truly. And I mean, with that in mind, I mean, again, I said it before, like, I love bossy girls, and I love that bossy girls grow up to be bossy women that get things done. So we embrace it. I mean, I don't know that anyone outside of our circle has, at least not to my face, has called us
well
has called us bossy. I mean, at least verbally to myself with my own ears. I mean, people do note that we, again, are problem solvers. We get things done. We keep things on track. So it's been positioned in a positive way, and it's never had that negative connotation. But again, the way that we speak to our team internally is that it's okay to be bossy as long as you know what you're talking about. And in fact, it's our job to be the leaders on any given project and on site. So if that means someone thinks you're bossy, fine. Like, you know, and this is an interesting thing, is we have a reputation in our industry, and again, I'm knocking on wood that this never changes, but we have a reputation for being good and kind to work with, because we're not bossy in a bitchy or mean way. And
we're bossy, actually, like, we know our shit.
Like, we know our shit.
Like,
we know our shit. We can back it
I need
up.
you to get things done.
Yeah, like this is what needs to happen.
Why. Yeah.
But we're also like we're known for being pretty chill and like laid back, because we know our shit. It's not scrambled. Like, we can have a great, chill, good vibes day because our shit is tight.
Some people's best self is that 9 to 5. And, you know, I used to think I wanted to be a CEO until I realized what a CEO actually, what it took to get there and what actually meant to be there. It's like, I have no interest in being that. It took me a long time to accept that as an okay outcome, depending on, you know, what my best self actually is. Like, how that's like a piece of this discovery of who you are and finding a way not to say, okay, your best self, awesome. Mine, not that, but I love what you're doing. Like, how do you get that? How do you help people get that?
That's tough. I will say I want to like put a pin in that comparison is not always bad. It is part of learning theory, you know, the idea that like what you're doing is a little bit better than me. And I think I can do that too. You know, like we need others to explore potential. There would be a trap to like living with blinders on in a bubble and not ever like peering out to what's possible. Right. So what takes place though is many of us will peer too far out without like, you know, taking the steps or having sort of a realistic idea of how to get there, you
like
know?
Like what it takes.
Yeah. So going back to acceptance, I think it's really challenging. It's a journey that I'm still on. When I teach things like confidence, coming from self-talk, right? And the mechanics of how to get that right, underneath it all is self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-empathy. And I think it's really difficult, especially for people who are getting after it in some sort of way because of the self-critique, you know, because it has gotten most people
where they are.
Or
at least they feel.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it has to a degree.
To a degree, like we talked about earlier, right?
It's like having a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Has to get you somewhere, right?
So then the question is like, is this working for me anymore? I think we all reach a point where it's like there's a moment of awareness, you know, and I can't give that to my clients. You know, like you were saying, like I wanted this for so long, and then I was like, wait a second, you know, because you had a moment of awareness. And so I think awareness is really key. Like, is this working for me? Is the reason why I'm driving towards this because I'm like, there's a fire in my belly for it, or because this is an idea that I've had, or maybe a seed that was planted that's not really mine. It's not really what I'm passionate about or driven
nobody
towards.
can give you that. You just got to sit with it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Which we're taught not to do.
Right.
We're taught to follow the formula. Right.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Whoever designed that formula wrote that formula.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
And so
it's there.
Became one.
Yeah. So in terms of like self-compassion and self-empathy, it's like, can I hold space for myself in the same way that I would for my best friend in a time of need? And then can I meet myself with a level of understanding that I would with my best friend in a time of need? Because I think we're often trying to externalize those needs, holding space and understanding, and it gets in the way of acceptance.
Where are you at with that?
I think I've come a long way, especially in the last year. I've definitely.
What's that journey like? What does that look like for you?
For me, it's a lot of mindfulness around compassion, loving kindness, self-empathy. Also, a great book is Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. So. Thanks
for the books.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed your question.
Right. What's the negative side of that? How has that looked for you during this journey?
I think some people think that like acceptance is the same as complacency, and that like I think for a long time I was reticent to go down that route because it's like I might lose my edge, and they're not the same. They're not the same. Acceptance
is. So you're kind of actively fighting it.
Yeah. I think acceptance is not complacency. Acceptance is like a willingness to just like
I love you, but you suck.
No, a willingness to experience difficult things, and have a sense of balanced neutrality or balanced perspective around it. I think another thing that gets in the way of acceptance is like just attachment, attachment to experience and to outcomes.
That's what Yoda says.
There you go. And
he's the master.
He's the master. So.
And he speaks funny.
Your life is yours, it is. That was a really bad quote. I made it up. My mind doesn't think like Yoda. I have to ask a question, kind of going back, because you slid this in there, and I don't want it to let it go. Your parents got divorced at 14.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure that played a part.
Good job. Write that down.
What did you mean by that?
I think in retrospect, sport was an outlet for me. It was a coping mechanism for what I was experiencing at home, which is one of the reasons why I was so competitive.
Were you aware of it, or was it just that?
No, I wasn't aware of it. And
was it a hard divorce on you then?
I actually wanted my parents to get divorced.
Oh.
Yeah.
You did say your dad was an
Yeah, my dad was.
You were acutely aware of it?
My dad was physically abusive to my mom.
Oh, so you were acutely aware of it. Yeah.
Not up until the point of their divorce, but early on in life, until probably I was, 8, 9, or 10. I don't remember. But my mom had black eye, broken nose. There were police at our house on several occasions. The last time I saw my parents together, I physically had to separate them. So.
Like last time, like recently?
No, sorry, when I was 14.
Oh,
like
14.
Okay.
So I got, that like my parents shouldn't be together. It was hard for me because when I was a little kid, even though my dad was physically abusive to my mom, he was like the apple of my eye, and we did everything together, and he was never physically abusive to me. As I got older and started to have my own voice and speak out about what I was seeing and hearing, then he started to become, I would say, like more verbally abusive or neglectful. So I think I was always searching for just stuff outside of that, and so sport was great for me in that I found a support system outside of home, and then I was able to work out some aggression,
a little bit physically,
yeah, physically,
in a real way,
in a real way, and so, but now it makes sense to me, like I was sharing last night that like I was reactive and like super competitive. I would get annoyed with my teammates if they didn't work hard. And so, people would call me a bitch sometimes. And I was saying how grateful I was to my coach's wife because she kind of guided me like, like you're competing hard, but there's another way to do this. But when we look at like, there's so much research now around early childhood trauma and exposure to violence and experiencing violence.
Yeah.
And what we know now is like the question is not what's wrong with you, it's what has happened to you. And no one asked me that question ever because I'm white and I come from a middle class family. And
you're good, right?
Right, I'm good, right?
You're privileged.
Yeah, exactly.
The right not to feel any negative way. Yeah.
So I think I just continued to like really push the edge in terms of sport because it was a little petri dish for me to explore myself.
I just saw a thing the other day. I think it was on Instagram. It was like. It's not I am depressed. It's I have depression.
I have depression. That's right. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
Is that like is that why you do what you do today? Like, does that play a role in it?
For sure, yeah. I think once I got some space after retirement from my career and I started to understand my psychological framework and kind of what was driving me for so many years to be good, that I realized that, and going back to something we talked about earlier, is that like high performance and joy in the pursuit of being your best do not have to be dichotomous, but that's often the model that we see.
Yeah.
And
No doubt.
so one of the things that fires me up most is that, like, one, I think a common characteristic of really high performers, elite high performers, is that they've had some sort of pain early in life that has driven them, which means that there are things that need to be addressed. You know, a lot of high performers struggle with depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and so, which I don't want to say I like suffered from, but I dipped into at times in my career, you know. But also like because of my inability to filter through, you know, like the one bonehead mistake on certain days, like I didn't have a ton of joy in my experience of being on the world stage. And so, yes, knowing what I know now, like I want to be able to help people and create space for people to pursue their best, but also understand the mechanisms for thriving and flourishing and joy in the process of doing so.
I used to work for a company called Uniroyal in Mishawaka. Huge corporation, multi-billion. So they used to make this type of containers, but the process was very old process, vulcanizing. They use uncured materials and make this big collapsible tank anywhere from 55 gallons all the way to 210,000 gallons.
Yeah.
But anyway, and Unilever had almost 99% business in US military and commercial making this type of containers. So, and Unilever, they did everything in-house, everything. They never bought anything from outside. So they lost one contract. And so there was a big havoc happened in the headquarters engineer system. And they asked me to investigate why we lost that contract. They found out that the new company come with a new material, thermoplastics. So it doesn't require any vulcanizing process. It's already cured. It's just like a butter. If you hit it, it melts. And when it cools down, it becomes harder. So using hot air, you can make a joint. So for example, making a 75 feet long seam, joining two panels together, at Uniroyal, it takes about an hour and a half because of the vulcanizing process. But with the new process, thermoplastic, it takes about 7 minutes.
Wow.
And also the quality-wise is absolutely perfect quality because in the vulcanizing, if you lose the temperature or the heat, but it's not good. Mm-hmm. But here the thermoplastic material is already cured. So it doesn't go bad. You can always reuse it. So I wrote this process and the whole paper, give to my boss. He was so excited. He went to the headquarters and they said, nope, we cannot do it.
Yeah.
And they went out of business in about 5 years. And so I went to BF Goodrich in Ohio, back to Ohio. And they were doing the same thing. So anyway, so my wife said, Yatish, we cannot keep changing the job back and forth, back and forth. We need some kind of stability. So let's start the business. And we love South Bend area very much. So I traveled from Akron, Ohio to South Bend every week for a whole year to set up the business. And then we family moved back to South Bend. And what we do is GTA was very first company, small business to make this type of containers. And company against Uniroyal, BF Goodrich, Goodyear, Firestone. Very unique process. And because of the GTA, there are another 6 small business make the similar products. the products we make is very unique. We make also 500-gallon drum, collapsible drums. Even Goodyear and Goodrich cannot build it. It's very highly technical specification to meet sophisticated specifications that I come with a process using thermoplastic materials. And we are the only company. There's another small company also makes drums, but we're the old-fashioned, old way. And because of, do you have 5 more minutes? Let me tell you one more story.
I do, Rodney. I got 5 minutes I can spare. But
yeah, I do. Rach and Ruby are on the way up, so they can say hi. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so reprieve my mom
from
child
care.
So what about in 1999, just before the Gulf War, very first Gulf War started, we used to get all the contracts up to making 50,000-gallon tanks. And every single contract since 1988, as of that time, we deliver on time or ahead of the schedule. And we always lost the contract for 210,000-gallon tanks because our price was very high. And our competitors, so government bought, US military bought all the 210,000-gallon tanks from this supplier. So in 99, maybe 2000, I get a phone call. So Louis answered the phone. Say, Louis, can you be able to make 210,000-gallon tanks? And she said, yeah, we can make. We never made it before, but we can make it. So next day, about 13 to 15 people from the US headquarters, US Army headquarters, come to South Bend to visit us and telling us about they own the tanks right now. And trying to find out that they had 137 210,000-gallon tank failed. Destroyed completely, even half full. Just seam opening up. So they had no fuel. There was no storage. And without the fuel, Army cannot do anything, fuel or the water. Right. Anyway, so they give us a sole source contract to making 10,000-gallon tank. We never built it before. So they give us 90 days to start making and shipping the tanks. So end of 60 days, we had to build a dome for the testing purpose, 52-foot tall dome, do the testing. And on the day 60, the dome is completed. On the day 61st, we started testing the tanks and start shipping. So they took our tanks in Kuwait to Iraq, 32 210,000-gallon tank. They're filling the tank overnight, back and forth, 24 hours a day, from Kuwait to Iraq. That was the biggest fuel depot Army ever had before. When they filled the last tank, they started the bombing Iraq. And so the master sergeant in charge of that fuel depot, he visited GTA after 3-4 years. And he told us what happened. And that's why I know. So, and the thing is that we take so much pride in our quality. And Louis always said, we do what we say. And so that's why every single contract we deliver on time or ahead of the schedule. And as of today, we have 0 reject.
Drafted out of high school in baseball, the top DB in the state. My year I came out, led the state in interceptions, highly recruited. But my resilience is what kept me. I always say I don't think I'm really smart. I'm just real resilient and I'm resourceful. I'm gonna figure out a way. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna find somebody that know the answer. So the doors kept being shut. Finally got everything through. I was gonna go to University of South Carolina. Score wasn't. They said my score didn't count because my SAT went up too much. So that was a slap in the face. I'm like, man. So then I went to
I'm just. You said it the second time now. I'm thinking like, what kind of a response is that? Like, you took the test again. Your score went up, and they said
it went up too high.
Is a test.
Because a lot of guys cheat.
SAT at home, you take it at a proctored location.
Exactly. What the advocacy needs to come in is because I was on Ritalin. I used to get in trouble a lot in school. So nobody would have ever expected me to be a teacher, yet alone an assistant. I used to get in trouble a lot. So they let me take the test untimed. So when I got untimed, that took all the anxiety out. But I didn't have, when they came against me and said that my score went up too much, I didn't have all the paperwork to justify that. You know, and that's only because a lot of people cheat. And I know some guys I played college ball with. I know you ain't get a good enough score to be qualified to be playing. I'm like, how are you here? You know, but so that happened. Then I went to Grambling as a Prop 48. I was extremely focused, and that means
Prop 48.
So basically, they let you into school, and you have the condition where you have to get 24 credits to become a sophomore within that first year and abide by a certain amount of rules to show
24 in the first year. In the first year or first? Oh, not in the first semester. The first year.
The first year.
Yeah, first year.
To become a sophomore, to honor them letting you in and to show that you were responsible. So I went there. I was on a mission. Did that. Was doing really well in football. I was doing really well. My first year I could play, making a good name for myself. And then around week 4, week 5, something I would have never thought happened. Like I literally was doing so well as a freshman, well, my second year in college, but my freshman year on the field, that I would be in my room and I would just get overjoyed knowing, like, man, I'm going to the NFL. I'm doing this good as a freshman. I got 3 more years. I know I'm going to the NFL. And I was actually physically assaulted by a coach in the weight room. They came up behind me, choked me. I woke up on the ground. I didn't know what happened until I went back to my room and I called one of my friends that was in there. And you find out who your friends are when stuff like this go on. Needless to say, we both end up transferring. It was so bad.
Yeah.
What?
What?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I could write a book. Most people don't know. Yeah, like the story. I was a freshman. I was one of the only freshmen that was getting playing time. We had a strength coach. He wasn't certified. Wasn't very professional. Kind of used to play around with the guys a lot, and sometimes he would try to pick with me because I was a freshman, and I just wasn't having it. And I think he was really, based on what some stuff that was said and what he said, he was going through some stuff. I didn't have a conversation with him afterwards, based on what people that we both knew. He was going through some stuff because he kind of snapped, and I think he kind of took that out on me. But we had some
in the weight room.
Yeah.
What?
So what was going on is, he was saying some stuff to me. We kind of had words. It wasn't like me because I didn't have a reputation of like arguing back and forth with my coaches, but it was kind of like a power struggle. He was trying to get me to do some weight that I couldn't do, and I told him I couldn't do it. He called me some names. I had some responses back to him, and I said, he was cussing at me and talking crazy, and I was like, man, you're not even a real coach. And I'm not saying that was the right thing to say, but it didn't warrant his response.
No, it doesn't equal choking. A full choking.
I could say any words to you, really. I mean, there are very few that would warrant that. Yeah,
but it was crazy because he tried to get me to like do these 100-pound dumbbells, and I couldn't do it. I was like, oh, guess I can't do it. And he just started calling me all types of names. And I said, bro, you're not even a real coach. So as I'm picking up the dumbbell to put it back on the rack, my back is turned. But even if I was facing him realistically, he's about 6'1", 300 pounds solid. Me, 165, 170 pound, 6 foot freshman. It wasn't much I would have been able to do with him anyway. Yeah. I just felt the hands around my neck. I look in the mirror. I mean, his eyes were just like evil. And I woke up on the ground. And I called my friend when I got back to the room because I'm still like, I don't know what happened. When the coach had me out in the hallway, like, man, is everything okay? And I was wondering why everybody was just so like in awe, like nervous. It was like somebody just got shot, you would have thought. And I go in the room, I call him. He said, man, he grabbed you by your neck. Everybody tried to get him off of you. And I got him off, and you shook, and your eyes rolled back to your head like I had a seizure on the ground. And I was like, wow. And I'm mad and I'm confused because I just want to live a normal college life and play ball and, go to the NFL and just be normal. This is at the time when Maurice Clarett was at Ohio State. He was all in the news. I didn't want that. So I had some pretty popular lawyers that found out about this. They called me. The top lawyer at LSU Law called me, basically, convinced me to come up and talk to me and let me do some papers, to sign some papers for them to help represent me. A very popular NBA player's lawyer was going to work pro bono for me. I had spoken with him, and I mean, I could have got a settlement to get a lot of money. But I was so confident in my ability. I was like, and I just felt like I ain't want all this energy. So I was like, well, I was like, I'm just going to transfer. I can go D1. The realm was 1AA, but it wasn't like D1.
Right.
Louisiana Tech was right up the street. And my life had changed. For once, sports wasn't everything. I had an amazing mentor at the church I was going through, the pastor. I'm just an amazing man. And I didn't want to leave that covering. So I didn't go home and transfer to University of Maryland or something like that. I wanted to stay there. And I went right up the street. And if it wasn't for the resilience, I would have dropped out. Because, I mean, when I tell you, I went from the man to, being on scout team for 3 years over people that I was clearly better. I was more highly recruited than everybody with the exception of like 2 people on the team. I was clearly better. I go get 130 yards and a touchdown or something in the spring game. Nobody else was getting no yards. It got to the point where at points where the crowd would cheer my name. Like people, I made it known. By my senior year, everybody knew who I was.
Cheered your name like Rudy style, like put him in?
Yeah. Because you go to the spring game and you'll see this guy get over 120, 130 yards, scoring touchdowns. Then the season it's like, who is this guy? And everybody on the team knew, so it got bad, but it was a lot of thing, man. There's people that didn't go through close to what I went through, that quit, that transfer. And I always realized, I said, I'll never let them see me sweat. I got kicked off the team 3 times. One time I got kicked off for not squatting low enough. One time I turned the wrong way in the drill. It was bad, man. I'm not exaggerating. It's some people that's in the NFL right now that can verify the stuff that I'm saying.
I want to speculate for a second. Roid rage much with your ex-lifting coach?
Yeah. I got to see him like a year ago. I gave him a hug too. Yeah. He's a strength coach at a major university now.
Where does this ease of forgiveness, like you gave him a hug, like that changed your trajectory, at least politically, right?
Yeah.
Well, and playing, like completely.
I mean, you stopped playing basically, and your dad, like it took you 2 years, but where does this? Is it your faith? Is it like where's that anchor?
It's definitely my faith. Because I know that fire don't put out fire. Love conquers all. And then my mom always emphasized that.
Does that make it easy to forget? I mean, you saw him a year ago, so that's how many years removed from the incident and you being out of school. Yeah. Like, did it come easy, even with your faith? Or
I had to pray about stuff like that every day. I would say people say faith come by hearing, not by the heard. It's a continuous thing. Forgiveness is a process. And then I realized, like, if I'm 34 years old now, if I'm looking at you. At the time I was 33 last summer. If I'm looking at you and I'm still mad at you about something from college, I done graduated. I done moved on. I'm a father. I'm thriving. I'm in line for purpose of doing what I'm supposed to do. It ain't no point. It ain't no point being hung up and mad on that. That's hurting me. He's obviously moved on. He's doing well.
Yeah.
And he was kind of nervous when he seen me. He's a real big guy, but it wasn't like, I don't think he was scared nervous, but he was just kind of like, what? He knows he gave.
He was wrong and shame.
And I looked at him and I just went like this. And I said, man, give me a hug. So.
And let me think back. Yeah, so I remember when I told, so it's a little bit of a long story, but just to start it off, I remember when I told him I was starting a business and he said, that's fucking stupid.
Really?
That was the straight up reply.
And I was like, I can cry right now or I can get really pissed off. And it got me really mad. And it ended up working out well for me because it kind of was like, I'll show you kind of thing. And
so Chip on, so I thought I sensed that. Wait, did you anticipate that response?
No, I thought it was going to be like, oh, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. Like, just keep doing school. I thought that's what it would have been. I was like, that's fucking stupid. He was like, you have no experience. You haven't read any business books. You haven't gotten to the business courses in school yet. Why?
You haven't checked all the boxes.
You haven't earned the right to do this.
You haven't had a job that had to do anything with business. Like, it's not a good idea. You're going to waste money. And I was like, but hear me out. It's pretty low risk. And that's the other thing. Starting an online business is lower risk than brick and mortar. And that's probably what he had in mind.
Yeah.
Like, you do need capital to start a brick and mortar location.
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have any capital. I started with $200. And
you went from $200 to $25K a month?
Well, I put $200 in, and then I was making $25,000 in sales
in 5 months. Let's be very clear.
So you didn't anticipate your dad's answer. You got angry, and you're like, "I'll show you."
And everyone, I mean, my boyfriend at the time too. He's like, "That's fucking stupid." Everyone literally told me that was fucking stupid, and I was just so angry. I was like, "Why can't I?" There's literally no risk of $200 that I'll make back.
Was there anybody that was like, "Yeah, do it," other than you?
It's so interesting to me.
Not a single person in my life that mattered.
Interesting. So you got this response, which I find to be a very normal human, like, do what I say, not.
And it's because they are worried for me.
Yeah.
They don't want me wasting my money.
But at the same time, like,
waste $200.
Taking the sales pitch of it's only $200 capital, and I still have a job, and I'm still going to college. So what's the downside, right?
Yeah. No.
What was the initial Walt Disney? What was he asking? It was like $25. Was the initial investment he was asking for, and people were like, "This is stupid."
Yeah.
Like to build Disneyland.
Yeah. So you got that response.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really did upset me, and I'm so glad it did because I was just like, I'm gonna show you all, like, this isn't, like, it's not true. And so I still going to school, and then slowly you would see my grades going down because I was putting all my time into my business. I was secretly not going to class, and
I was doing that, but bad. I didn't have a business.
Oh God. Hey, I don't blame you. I don't like school, but at least I was like, I feel bad now that I've wasted my dad's money for a whole year at university and paying for me to live there.
Back off of like a month of revenue.
Yeah. So that I have goals to repay him, and I'll do that soon. But yeah, I was wasting my time. Not wasting my time. I wasn't wasting my time, but I wasn't going to class. I was working on my business all day long. And yeah, month 5. Actually, check my bio. I think it's month 5 or 6.
It's in month 5.
Okay, month 5 is when I was able to quit it, and when I got that huge sales goal, and I was like, okay, officially done with the job. And that job was actually funding everything for the business because it wasn't making enough.
Number 1 investor.
Yeah, it wasn't making enough to just keep everything. And I was smart at that age to be like, oh, wow, I'm actually making an extra $400 or $500 off of this business. Why not just keep it? Instead, I was like putting it right back in, plus the money I was getting from my job, which just wasn't a lot. I think I was making like $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Yeah. So, but everything I got, I put into that, which was really nice. And obviously did help that my parents did at the time help pay for school and my bills. So I'm very grateful for that. I know if it wasn't for that, I would have been backtracked a lot if I had to pay for all those things.
Sure. It's a really subtle thing that what you did there. And I hear some people give this advice, but it's like you had a job. It wasn't the greatest. It was okay, but it was paying you. Yeah. And you could use that to feed the thing that you thought would be successful and you made successful, frankly. And then when it paid off, you could quit the job. And a lot of people are like, nah, you just quit the job. And it's like, maybe for some people that's a thing, but you can also do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the first thing I did was I quit that job at the end of month 5, and I told my dad that I'm quitting, and he's like, maybe it is working out for you, but you should stay there for at least a year for your resume. I was like, Dad, I hate it. I freaking hate it. I was like, I can't stand it. He's like, I'm telling you, they're not going to write you any referrals, and I know they won't. Of course they won't, and I don't care. I don't need them.
Why would you need it if you have a business?
And not only that, but at my admin assistant referral isn't really going to help me with being a
where you're trying
owner.
to go.
And it did help a little bit. I mean, I appreciate. Yeah. I appreciate like being around that environment. It definitely helped. That was my first time because growing up in high school, I worked too, and my parents didn't want me to work back in high school, which is really funny. They want me to focus on school. But I worked in the restaurants, and I hated that too. And so transitioning from there to the office was so exciting for me. And I ended up learning I hated it, but it taught me a lot, like how to dress, how to greet people. I was still the youngest person in there. They told me the youngest person they'd ever hired was 28, and I was 18. And so that was hard for them to accept. So it was cool being around people that were, 28 and older, and they're all architects. It was an architecture firm. So, I mean, it was really good experience being around those kinds of people, clients of theirs, spending a lot of money. So it wasn't just like some random office. It was like a really important office to be in. So that was even really huge for me to get. But then I realized it wasn't for me. And the next thing, so after I quit my job, I still stayed in school for my parents, not for myself. And at that time, I also knew that I wanted to move to California. So I was really, really sad at that time because I was like, man, how am I going to move out there but do school here? I can't. My parents aren't going to pay for California tuition. And like, I'm already in school. Like, I could finish school in like 2 more years at this point. So I decided to start learning on how I can save up and move here while I was in school. So I went to school for another semester in the fall of 2017. And that was when I totally skipped all my classes. I failed every class that semester. I don't know. I think it's I didn't tell my parents. If they hear this, I'm sorry. I got straight Fs, not because I'm stupid, because I wasn't going, but that is stupid that I didn't just drop out this, you have 2 weeks to withdraw. And I was like, no, I can do it. I did not do it. I was in my apartment all day, packaging swimsuits, working all day. I hired a friend that went to school with me. I kind of got her to start skipping class with me, and we were working on it all day. And of course I was paying her. And so that at the end of that semester, or that whole semester, I was planning on moving here in January 2018, which I did secretly. And my parents hate me for the way I did it. I'm really sorry for what I did to them. But that whole semester I was just plotting my escape and not even telling my parents properly because I was so scared.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure to stay in school.
And to move here, which is another huge thing that they still don't support.
So they don't like you living in California.
No.
Is it because you're not with them, or is it
social reasons?
I don't know if you know this, but everyone who's not from here, doesn't live here, hasn't visited, thinks that it's ridiculous, the taxes, the extra costs, the cost of living.
I live in Cleveland. So anybody who's not from or has never visited Cleveland thinks Cleveland's a rat hole. Right?
It's not true. I will vouch for the city of Believe Land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is more expensive. Like a lot more expensive than Florida.
But it's doable.
And I prepared for it. And that's the thing I was telling my parents, like, because I flew out. The reason I fell in love with California, because I flew out here for a photo shoot for my swimsuit company, because all the big models live out here, not in Florida. And I was like, wow, I freaking love it here. The energy here, the people, like, there's opportunities.
Vibe junkie. Vibe. Yeah. The vibe was good.
The vibe. Yeah. And I was like, I love it. So I got home and I was like, hey guys, like, I love California. I might want to move there one day. They're like, no, it's so expensive. You won't be able to afford that. You don't even have a job, because my company didn't count to them.
Yeah.
And they're like,
which it doesn't to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's just a hobby.
It's just a thing. Yeah.
Is
it's making me 25 grand a month.
It's a passion project.
Versus
That's so cute.
Like 25 grand versus, I don't know what the profit margin is, but still 25 grand versus 2 grand.
Well, I mean, even further back, like, did your mom do that? Did your dad?
No. That's
how. Like, where do you get?
So I'll be honest. I made that up on my own. I knew some here and there. I knew some.
So you picked up pieces.
Yeah. So I picked up all the pieces, and I was able to assemble them together and make it into almost like a formula, a little bit. So if you have to start from a place of good intention in every discussion, you have to, because otherwise, then you might as well not talk. What's the point of talking if you right?
Other than to boost your own ego and say, prove you're right. But when you go into a situation trying to prove you're right with someone who vehemently disagrees with you, you will inherently never prove yourself right to that person unless you're not going to boost your ego.
It won't happen.
You're just going to feel bad about yourself.
That's right.
Or angry at that person.
Yeah. Your intention could be to find the solution, which is you're going to practice understanding. Or your intention could be to win this argument, which means your brain's going to lock that area that uses understanding. It's going to lock it down. It's going to use the other side instead. That goes with arguments and also almost in a lot of delusion too. So people will like say certain things as an argument that everyone knows is wrong, but they will use it because you can't prove it wrong, right? So then now they got you stuck in the middle, so they go forever until finally they catch you on one thing that you said wrong, and then they'll use that to win the whole argument. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But literally, I'm like, yo, we're sitting here talking about an important topic, and the whole time you're just thinking this is like a game show. What the
How am I going to get
This
you?
is not Jeopardy,
No
man.
whammies, no whammies, no whammies.
Yeah.
I know this line of speak. I've done this.
Uh-huh.
I've done that.
We all done it.
Yeah.
I've done it
absolutely.
too. And sometimes when I do it, mostly I do it with sports, just for the sake of it, whatever. Sometimes I call it practice arguing.
Practice.
It's like, honestly, arguing is a very, 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 very good intellectual exercise.
Oh, without a doubt.
But an exercise is supposed to improve you.
Mm.
So when you're arguing and you argue like an idiot, you actually get dumber.
Mm.
Seriously. Because if you keep using idiot techniques, you will get stupid. Your brain's going to keep closing off all the areas that are logic and thinking and comes up with creative ways to make your arguments. And instead,
you're ultimately just saying the same thing over and over again.
Well, even worse, because now you start to believe the shit.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Delusion.
That's why it's difficult. That's why it's dangerous to argue from a place of lying. You don't have to try to win the argument by making slick, truthful arguments. Don't try to win by lying.
Mm.
You're going to put your brain in a very delusional place, and then it won't get out of it. Mm. That people don't understand this. When you're doing that, you're doing it to yourself. Because when you're thinking while you're doing it, and you're very passionately thinking, that gets recorded in your subconscious mind. You start to believe the bullshit you're feeding other people. That's the danger of arguing while lying. Guys do it more for things that are of pride and of like sports or like, yeah, I did this. No, I did that. No, I run a 4.62. No, I run actually they say 4.21.
Oh yeah,
right. Run like 4.95. Like, come on, dude, flip that 9 over, bro.
So West Africa,
yes.
You said. Do you say Paris or do you
Paris for 3 years.
And Montreal. So do you speak French?
Montreal, yeah.
Parlez-vous français?
Bien sûr, bien sûr.
Ça va?
Très couramment.
Why? What got? Let's try that again. Why'd you travel around?
Well, actually, it wasn't my choice. My dad sent me to learn French, pretty much.
Oh, really?
For, possible future of going back to Africa and living there, working there. Yeah.
So your dad sent you to Paris?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
To learn,
so education was the.
Yeah, that's right.
So what was that like for you at 10 years old?
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but I kind of actually.
Who'd you go with?
Alone.
Really?
I was in a boarding school, but I kind of appreciate it now, to be honest, because I realized that it put me on a path that's different from everyone here.
Yeah.
So if I had came from Africa and stayed here till now, I wouldn't have gotten some of those key, very, very key experiences that really, by the way, changed my way of thinking. You know what I mean? So
anything come to mind? Yeah.
Well, one would be, for example, in France, they practice a lot of what I call small, respectful ways on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis. Like, they're going to hold the door for a lady. They're going to say please and thank you all the time. You're going to sit at a table correctly. You're going. It's not even big. It's nothing huge.
Sure.
But it's just small. Yeah. Because those manners truly put us at ease with each other.
Yeah.
It makes the relationship easier,
Yeah.
So, yeah, they do a lot of that. Even though it doesn't seem like a lot, it really is important, right?
Before we go too far away from this, you said it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Like, what was the experience like?
So it was pretty much.
Was there a conversation, or was your dad just like, "No, you're going. Like, I signed you up. You're out."
Have you ever seen an African dad? Did you just say conversation? Whoa. No, that's not.
There was none of that.
No. That's not. That in that relationship, there is no uncomfortable conversation. It's just one person sitting down, listening, and then doing it.
It's uncomfortable, but it's not a conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's only uncomfortable for one person. That's it. Just yourself, not the dad.
That's right.
But so it was more being away from my family at that age. It just didn't feel like it was natural. And it felt, there was a lot of times where it felt kind of lonely,
And that was for 3 years.
Yeah. And another 3 years in Montreal as well. So 6 years altogether. Yeah.
So did you go back home?
I would stay at a boarding school, and I would go back to visit them twice a year. So, but the good thing was though, that it made me mature. It really did. It made me mature faster than most of the 10, 12, 15-year-olds, because I had to like sit and think a lot more on my own, and also, learn a lot of stuff on my own, and that was my path. So, you can't, I don't regret it. I'm just describing it.
Right. Yeah.
Big difference, right? But I really do now see the value in it. It was good.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so unpredictable which moments you actually pressed record on.
Mm-hmm. Well, to your point, how did you organize it as an adult? Like, how did you
ascribe meaning to it? Yeah. Why are you holding on to these pebbles?
Right.
And so many of them are so meaningless. I have just the weirdest memories of like begging this babysitter to do this bit she once did where she pretended she was like a pitch person going through my refrigerator at home, like taking out objects and pretending she was like doing a commercial for them. And I was so
like the
delighted.
ShamWow guy?
What's that?
Like the ShamWow guy?
ShamWow. Yeah, exactly. And I remember begging her to do it again, and she just didn't want to. And like looking back, I'm like, oh, the first time I think she was just stoned. And this is 78, 79. So I'm sure she came to my house and whatever. God bless. But I just have such a memory of like pleading with her and her saying no and getting more and more annoyed with me.
Yeah.
And me being so confused by her annoyance. And like, what is that? Why does that always, that just comes around once a month?
Like, where did they come from?
What does it mean? Like, is that my kink? Like, was that like early arousal? Her denial?
Is this what I need my wife to start doing? Is marketing to me?
Well, she's intuiting that.
Oh,
I'm just, come on. That's just an easy joke.
I got you.
That's just an easy joke.
What, so victim complex.
Sure.
What, I do it a little bit myself. I think maybe, I don't know if everybody does it. I do it for sure. But what does it mean for you?
It means I forgot to tell Catherine that I have tickets to go see a comedy show tonight, and my daughter's having a sleepover, and it will be really annoying to try to get out of the house to go see this show that a friend of mine is performing in, that he months ago asked me if I wanted to go see, and I said, of course. And now I either have to tell her, I forgot to fucking tell you, but I have to go to this show tonight and deal with those consequences, or more likely text him, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. And then what will come next will be the words of someone who is having their life happen to them. It's just been chaotic. I fucked up. I got this other situation. I'm so sorry. And some version of, you wouldn't believe how battered I am by the events that are around me. That's what's justifying my terrible behavior. And I am so sorry that I am so fucked up and I fucked this up. And that's, I think, that's what I mean. Is like, I am the recipient of my life. And that's just a story that I tell myself or tell others to justify what is behavior that is not the result of that.
Wow.
It's just the result of poor time management and poor communication.
Bad decisions.
And ambivalence about going and like wanting to be a good friend and probably have fun, but also like, whatever. It's a Friday night and I'm an old man,
Curious and Rodney, I don't know if you had on the victim mentality.
On the point, no, I was going to go elsewhere.
I was too. This is the struggle. This is always the fun part, Ethan. Are we in alignment or aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, we are.
Yeah.
Which is a very weird thing to happen.
Especially you're so remote,
Yeah.
It's like this.
17 years of friendship, I guess it pays off. But that question Rodney asked is like, when you were 12, where'd you want to be? This is actually a prior guest's question, or his answer to what do you ask or tell a young person? And he follows it up with, well, what's preventing you from being there? So I'm curious, like what prevents you from pursuing still the movie creation or being the creator of film?
First, I have to say that the structure of that question smacks of Scientology and makes me very uncomfortable.
Okay. I wish I knew more about Scientology at this very moment.
I knew more of Scientology. I've seen Leah Remini's special on HBO.
I've just seen the South Park episode.
Step back a little bit from what's stopping me from getting
Keith's
what I
about
want.
to pull out a
E-gram,
E-meter.
Yeah, we're gonna do your levels. We're gonna whatever.
Listen, I'm curious. Yeah. I think the honest answer to that is nothing. That's what I'm doing every day, all day, as I'm trying to make a bunch of stuff, and
because it is the world you live in. It is what you're doing.
All I'm doing now. I made I made the decision to get out of I quit my job basically, and my creative partner, my writing partner of 16 years, and I went our separate ways. Just in the new year.
You broke up the band.
We broke up the band, and so this is, in many ways, this is always what I've been dreaming about, is a time where I can just every day be with my family and work my ass off on only things that I care about, and none of it is a job, none of it pays me a dollar, but they're all moving towards ideally a place where at least that'll crash.
I'm going to do a Rodney Brain thing here.
Very, very familiar to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and connect dots that are seemingly very disconnected. Let's see if we can do this. So you were just talking about that, and so leaving like 16 years writing together, or working together creatively.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this year of 19.
Yeah.
So I think of things like that moving as very violent processes. Like they shake up everything mentally, physically. And in the lead up to this, you mentioned that you're very interested in monsters and violence.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Didn't think that's where you were going.
Me neither. I mean that's what I'm really, that's what my work is about right now.
That's what you're writing,
I'm writing about a kind of monster story, and I'm investigating in another area, sort of a real brief moment of violence that has kind of lingered in my life, and so that's what just occupies my thoughts and the stuff I'm reading about. And I'm just very, they've discovered recently that the Neanderthals and we who are also descendants of Neanderthals, that there were more than one kind of human being coexisting, and that one was a lot bigger and browier and hairier and less, frontal cortexier, and that a lot of our monster stories comes from that fear of sort of like at night hoping they don't come around. And that just is really fucking interesting to me. Those that monster in the shadow is something that I've just been thinking a lot about.